Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 15 Pro Max and compare it against the iPhone 13 and see which particular iPhone is a better one for you. Now, I will definitely tell you, if you have all the money in the world, going up to something like the iPhone, 15 Pro Max might make a lot of sense for some people, but I would also probably argue that if you have one of those types of devices, if you have an iPhone 13, it's a much smaller size, and that might be more comfortable for most people to hold from that specific perspective. So, in terms of that, if you want to pick up either one of these iPhones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these iPhones, the iPhone 15 Pro Max on the outside has a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. It is a very big panel, it's a very big phone, and I do think it's a very, good, amazing phone. It's almost perfect, and I do think it's probably one of the better phones out there, which is amazing. Now, it's not perfect, but it is a very good device, and personally for me, I think it's a very, very good phone that I would still recommend a bunch of people to buy. ProMotion display, you have a 120Hz display at that as well, which is really cool, and I definitely do think from that perspective, it definitely gets a thumbs up for me for sure. Now, on the iPhone 13, on the other hand, you're basically getting a little bit of a smaller 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this particular panel is a little bit smaller. It's noticeably smaller than the other device. So that's kind of what's expected. It's a, 60 Hz panel, so not 120 Hz. I think it's a pretty good device. I think it's a very good phone. I think it looks great, and there's not a lot to complain about here. Like I mentioned before, it's not perfect, but I think it definitely gets the job done for the most part. Now, these, both these phones have very good displays. The iPhone 13 has a Lightning port at the bottom. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has a USB Type-C port, which is very, very cool. And that right there is another big advantage. I like having that type of USB-C port on this iPhone. And once again, that in and of itself, gets a thumbs up for me for sure. Now, on the back, they both have glass backs, but the iPhone 13 has that standard glass back, which still feels and performs very well. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has that frosted glass back. That is a very cool feature to have, and I love having frosted glass backs over these standard glass backs. So once again, that in and of itself is another big thing. I like having frosted glass backs. Those things mean a lot more to me and they just feel so much better. So that right there, once again, gets a thumbs up from me for a fact. Now, camera-wise, triple camera setup on the 15 Pro Max. iPhone 13 has a dual camera setup. Very good stuff. Once again, not a lot to complain about, but I definitely do think on the outside, the iPhone 15 Pro Max definitely looks and feels better than the iPhone 13, but I still think the iPhone 13 is a perfectly good device as well. Now, in terms of the cameras, like I said before, it's really not even fair. The iPhone 15 Pro Max is a much better camera overall than the iPhone 13. On devices like the iPhone 13, you're still going to be getting a very good device with a lot of power and a lot of capability. So I think that's another big advantage for that type of phone. With a device like the iPhone, 13, dual camera setup, wide and ultra wide camera, still a very solid ice cream for sure. But the iPhone 15 Pro Max is without a doubt one of my most, favorite cameras. It's obviously still doing very, very good from that perspective. And once again, that in and of itself gets a thumbs up for me as well. So just that right there, the iPhone 15 Pro Max camera, 4K 60 on the front and the back, everything, very solid camera for sure. Software longevity, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is also going to be lasting longer. So if you're going to want the longer lasting phone between these, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is by far the better one here for sure. I think the iPhone 13 is still very, very good. It's a solid, that phone's going to be lasting for a very, very long time as well. But the iPhone 15 Pro Max is probably the one that's going to last the longer amount of time here. And that's just what happens when you have a newer phone. It's probably going to last longer. Now, in terms of, the other performance features, the iPhone 13 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4GB of RAM, where the iPhone 15 Pro Max has that Apple A17 Pro chip inside with 8GB of RAM. Now, once again, I will tell you the iPhone 13's performance is very good for how, for what this phone was at the time, for how old this phone is. It's a pretty good performing phone. I genuinely don't have that much to complain about here, and I do think if you're going to go ahead and buy a phone, this is not a bad option. I think it's a pretty solid phone nonetheless, and I still think it's completely worth buying for sure. With the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it is, it has twice the amount of RAM, which definitely has to mean something. Like, having twice the amount of RAM is amazing, and I do think that in and of itself is another very, very big asset for something like the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It is a very, very good performing phone from that specific, standpoint. So I'll say, in my opinion, overall, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, without a doubt, is by far the better phone in my opinion in every single way. Better performance, better battery life, better everything. I think the iPhone 13 is still a very good phone, and I would say for a lot of people it might be the better one just because it's a smaller size, but I'd probably go for the 15 Pro Max if you're comfortable with the size. If not, go for the iPhone 15 Pro. So that pretty much covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.